Welcome to the Low Carb Consultant Podcast, where I speak with leading experts, trainers, and athletes in the low carb, fasting, and strength and conditioning communities to ultimately discover the best health and nutritional advice available. Today's guest is Hayden Burdge. He's a personal trainer, endurance athlete, and a 5-time 100-mile race finisher. We discuss everything from his running journey, his disciplined morning routine and training schedule, to his transition from vegan to a more animal-based diet. Overall, a very insightful chat. Let's jump into it. All right, Hayden, welcome on, man. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Thanks, Max. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I know I've been following you, man, for a long time, and I see all your crazy running and endurance activities and things like that. So I'm glad when I reached out you were open to coming on the show, man. So pleasure to meet you and pleasure to diving into everything here. Um, Maybe just to give the listeners who don't know who you are quite yet, could you give, maybe just to go into your background and maybe even a little bit of your journey, can you give some of the listeners just a brief background on yourself and maybe even how you got to this point where you're at right now?
Yeah, sure. I'm originally from Santa Monica, California. That's where I was born. But me and my family moved to Sun Valley, Idaho, when we were pretty little. That's where we grew up. I have a twin brother. We're fraternal twins, not identical. But yeah, so I grew up in Sun Valley, Idaho, just in the mountains. Grew up snowboarding and skateboarding. Didn't play a lot of uh, really sports or team sports growing up, but mainly outdoor stuff, and formed a passion for the outdoors and nature and the mountains and the trails. Um, but yeah, so after high school, went to college. Well, before that, I was competing in snowboarding at like a amateur to at a professional level for a little bit, and then was kind of faced with a crux or an intersection in life, like continue as a snowboarder, as an athlete, or go to college, and chose to go to school. Ended up getting my degree in illustration and graphic design, and which led me to back to Southern California, and then over to Portland, Oregon. And but during this whole time, I'm loving working out and looking a certain way, but fitness was never like a passion of mine. I was never really a runner or anything. I just kind of like would hit the gym with some of my friends, and found weightlifting and stuff like in high school and a little bit of college and stuff. But fitness and health was really like back backseat and low to the ground. It was
Sure.
mainly just kind of being an artist and uh, just like partying and living to the fullest in my 20s, and kind of that like YOLO lifestyle. Really not healthy at all. But to kind of like wrap it up a little bit, I was going down like pretty bad route just with my health, and hanging out with a bad crowd, and um, I would always make fun of my friends who ran. I always thought running was dumb, and eventually I poked enough fun at a friend, and he was like, "Well, okay, if you think you're such hot stuff, you should train for this marathon. I bet you couldn't run a marathon if you think you're so awesome." And in my head, I'm thinking, "No, this will be easy." And this was in 2019. So everything prior to like 2019, I was a complete degenerate. Just health and fitness was, like I said, on the back burner. I always like to like have abs and look a certain way, but there was no sort of nutrition pyramid or fitness pyramid.
Yeah.
It was just I was just having fun in my 20s, and being a kind of a knucklehead. But yeah, so in 2019, I started training for the Austin Marathon, and in that experience, I basically unlocked a lot mentally and physically for me. I realized that I was capable of so much more. I was leaving a lot of potential on the table. At the time, I was drinking and doing drugs and smoking cigarettes, and and then I'm trying to train for this marathon, and I instantly realized, well, I can't train for this marathon and smoke and do drugs and drink every night. So for me, I found out I'm a man of extremes. So when I commit to something, I go all in. So I realized I wasn't able to train properly for this thing with these substances. So it was a quick fix. I just eliminated tobacco at the time, smoking in order to train. I was still like kind of drinking and stuff, using it like as a reward on the weekends for after my long runs.
Sure.
But so I quit smoking, and during that marathon training process, training was awesome. I started like lifting and running and hitting these mile markers, 6, 10, 12, 13, 16, 18 mile long runs. I'm just like surprising myself. And with the simplicity, all you had to do was eat right, sleep well, follow the program, just execute the plan. Just show up every morning and just execute the plan. And it worked. I ran the marathon in just under 4 hours. I didn't really have a time goal, but apparently sub 4 was a great time for a first time marathon. And I remember crossing the finish line and thinking, I can keep going all day. I had so much energy, and I was like, oh no. I just remember thinking, oh gosh, like I think I've just formed the biggest, most obnoxious snowball that's about to roll down this hill. And sure enough, it did. After I finished the marathon, I just dove deep into fitness and running, and I decided to put my design career on the back burner. I wanted to become a personal trainer, and because in this process I was documenting it online on Instagram, and people were reaching out to me like, "Wow, this is inspiring. You basically quit drinking and smoking to like achieve this goal." And I on accident just like was kind of inspiring people. I didn't mean to. I just was showing what I was doing, and people were reaching out to me. I had such heartfelt messages from men and women who I was partying with in the past who said, "Hey, like, you're doing this. I want to do this. I want to like get my life on track." And that was something that was very unexpected to me, and
Sure.
I loved that. And I got a lot of positive feedback after running the marathon, and so I said, "Hey, like, I want to be a personal trainer. I want to help people. I want to help myself. I want to just see where this." I'm young. I would just want to take one career, put it on the back or on pause, and start something new. I mean, why not, right? I was in my early 20s, and so yeah, I became a personal trainer. At the time, I was living in Ogden, Utah. I was working at this addiction recovery center that was part CrossFit gym, part addiction recovery. So I was working with a youth program, middle schoolers and high schoolers and adults, coaching CrossFit, coaching group fitness. Just fell in love with it. Absolutely changed my life, changed my perspective on hard work and, you know, just what fitness can do for your mental health, for your physical health, just everything. Those years were very impactful for me. Those were the early 2020s. Some of the best years of my life. And in that time, I also dove deep into the ultra marathon scene. So after the marathon, it was clear that 26 miles was just not enough. And so I dove really deep into the ultra rabbit hole. And there's an amazing website called Ultra Sign Up that when you go on it, you just type in your zip code and it pulls up, or state, and it pulls up hundreds and hundreds of ultra marathons, anything more than 26.2, anything from a 50K all the way up to 100 miles. And so I just was on that website, just searching places near Utah, places near Idaho, places in California, all these races like mom and pop 50Ks, 50 milers, 100K, and I just went on a tear. I was just running everything. I was going to 50Ks and 50 milers, and I just couldn't get enough. I was just having so much fun signing up and running all these races, and the people are what kept me coming back. You'd show up to a start line, and it taught me to. It was one of the earliest points where it taught me not to judge a book by its cover. You would show up to a race, and you'd see someone, and you think, this person's going to run 50 miles? No, no. But then those are the people that are passing you at mile 40.
Yeah.
And so those experiences alone really helped me throw like judgments out the window, really meet people where they're at. Um, I'm still run ultras. I'm deep in the ultra scene. And one of the biggest things it's taught me is to not judge people, is to really just meet, like I said, meet people where they're at, and um, where it's kind of led me today. Currently, I live in Malibu, California. I live right next to Pepperdine University.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so I am a personal trainer here in Malibu. I train at Malibu Fitness. It's a gym here. I also train at a private studio in Malibu as well. And also, I work in hospitality for a fitness and endurance resort. It's called the Ranch Malibu. And so it's not like a drug recovery center. That's like the biggest misconception about it. People here, I think people, it's not really big on social media, the ranch. It's kind of like not secretive, but um, there's not a lot of like limelight on it. But yeah, it's a retreat for fitness. It's for people that um, a little bit in the upper echelon of the top percentile of the economy. We get a lot of celebrities and CEOs, people from the tech industry. Mainly the celebrities that come, let's say they need to get like in shape or back on track for a movie role, or you have a very busy entrepreneur or CEO that's kind of let themselves go. They've been going to one too many company dinners, and they've been traveling internationally for up to a year, and they've just completely fallen off the wagon with their health and fitness journey. So the ranch offers an amazing experience to kind of reconnect with nature and with your fitness. It's structured around a 4-hour hike every single day. So guests will come and stay on the property for 7 to 9 days. So some people stay like a couple weeks or 3 weeks, but the in general it's 7 to 9 days. And so I call it adult summer camp. Basically, people come, and we do yoga in the morning, and we do this big 4-hour hike here in the Santa Monica Mountains, and we come back, and there's cold plunging and sauna and fitness and yoga and all sorts of stuff. And we encourage the guests to, leave their phones in their room and just really detach from their busy personal lives and really kind of like reconnect and hopefully take away some tools of some discipline and grit and hard work. And yeah, that's been amazing. I moved from Idaho to work for the ranch as a hiking guide and a personal trainer. So I split my time mainly with the ranch, and when I'm not at the ranch, I'm training clients in Malibu. So that's like kind of up to speed. You can poke any questions you have. Kind of, I know. Sorry, that was kind of a lot in at
No,
once, but
that was fantastic because I definitely have questions about the ranch because it sounds like it's a pretty
uh-huh,
phenomenal spot.
right.
But going back to something that I caught earlier, do you still keep in touch with that buddy that challenged you to run the Austin Marathon? Because it sounds like to me that guy basically changed your life or the direction of your life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, he's a close friend, and it's just one of those things, man. Like it only takes one person to kind of care about you, and I have tons of friends in my life who I'll constantly text and just check up on and keep them accountable. Well, one of my first CrossFit coaches in Ogden, Utah, we had this thing where after every hard workout, you were required to send out 3 healthy texts. Like first thing that comes to mind, like when after like a grueling EMOM or an AMRAP, like you're a puddle on the ground. Go to your phone. The first 3 people that come to mind, send out a text like, "Hey, I'm thinking about just checking in. Hey, I'm thinking about you." And I still do that till this day. And I think it's so important to kind of implement those types of things. And we're like so close but so far,
Hmm.
with Instagram and social media and everything. And so just a little text, a little check-in can literally change someone's day or their life. And so I'm really passionate about like that practice.
That's so cool. No, that's definitely cool. And that's I feel like that's something that most people should do, right? It's just like that little sense of like human connection, especially if you're, just telling someone that you care about them or you're thinking about them, that can go such a long way in this, like you said, we're so close, but we're so like far at the same time.
Hmm.
That can go a long way in just making someone's day 100%.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to put your Instagram account in this podcast because I suggest people follow you. And we were chatting a little bit about this before we started recording. But I think your morning routine and what I want to chat about now is kind of like your day to day, like your training, like what time you get up, what you're eating, because it seems like you are probably one of the, from what I see, one of the more active individuals I've come across, mainly just because of what you do for a living, right? You're hiking constantly with guests at the ranch, like you're doing all these different things, you're training for ultras, you're also doing like strength and conditioning, it seems like a lot. Can you walk me through like from the time you get up, from the time you go to bed, like what does like a typical day look like for you? And even if you can, maybe go into some of like how you are fueling yourself, like
Yeah.
what's your diet like?
Yeah, so I'll run you through 2 different days. So, typically, right now, I work at the ranch 2 set days, which will be Tuesdays and Thursdays. But sometimes I'm working there. Those are my hiking days at the ranch. So sometimes I'm hiking every day of the week there. It could be 7 days, it could be 5 days. But right now, I'll just run you through a typical week. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays are when I train my personal training clients.
Mhm.
And Tuesdays and Thursdays are when I'm at the ranch, and then I go to Malibu Fitness to work there. So I'll just run you through like a Monday and a Tuesday. So my first client on a Monday is at 7 a.m. And so I wake up at 4 and yeah, so I'll get up at 4 on Mondays, and on Tuesdays I get up at 3. But I'll say with Mondays for now. So Monday I get up at 4. I have this like kind of systems check every morning. I do about a 15 to 20 minute yoga flow every single morning. I have the same thing I do. I've been doing it for years. I basically do it with my eyes closed. I call it a systems check. First thing I do, I roll out of bed, I just hop on the yoga mat, and I'm doing this like kind of vinyasa, some little bit of core work, activation. Takes about 15, 20 minutes. That's like it's literally a non-negotiable. And for me, it's like I need to get the blood flowing. Just like see what's kind of like
Mhm.
what's going on. Getting a little bit older, so it just
I
kind of
like
like
the name of that, systems check.
yeah, do a little systems check.
Yeah.
And then after the systems check, I will immediately pound 32 ounces of water, just room temperature water. I have like this big jug or whatever. Um, Pound 32 ounces in one go, and then kind of just like I'll walk outside. I'll like take a lap outside. I like to really take my mornings I ease into my mornings, and I give myself time. This is why I wake up at 4. I give myself time to ease into the morning. Like I give myself like an hour buffer before I need to like do anything.
Mhm.
So um, I've never understood people who, if they have to be somewhere at 7, they get up at 6:45. Like I've never been that person, and you know, more power to the person who can do that, but that's not for me. I give myself a buffer. So even if like I said, if I have to be at my client at 7, I'm getting up at 4. It'll take me like close to an hour to do this like morning routine. Like I said, I'll drink my water. I'll maybe make a little coffee. I'm not like a coffee snob or anything. I'll just like I'll press the Keurig button. It's more just like a ritual.
Sure.
Have a couple sips. I'll like walk outside and just breathe some fresh air. This whole time my phone is away. I'm huge on no screens until like the first like hour or so into my day. Like um I just I find that it just relaxes me and I'm able to we're so plugged in the whole day that if I can carve out at least like the first hour without looking at a screen, it really helps. And so, like I said, that whole thing will take about an hour, and then I will. Luckily, the where I train my first client is very close. So getting up at 4, I usually get to the studio around 5. And my training is kind of in seasons. And so, like you mentioned, I prioritize strength. I'm also training for a multitude of ultra marathons. And so sometimes my strength training is in the afternoon. Sometimes I knock it out first thing in the morning. It really comes down to kind of how I'm feeling and if I know I'm able to do it. But 99% of the time, I prioritize strength because you can always kind of go for a run, but you're never really guaranteed like a gym session. And
Mm.
so that's also why I give myself a huge buffer because I also have this saying, you are promised almost 100% of the time. You are promised 5 a.m., but you are not promised 5 p.m. No way, no chance. And so getting to the gym early and prioritizing strength. I have been doing this for so long where people are asleep at 4 or 5 in the morning. No one is going to text me. No one's going to email me. No one's going to call me. I'm going to have a solid hour without not one person bothering me. And so I know I'm gonna get a quality session in at that time. And even if you start warming up and you're half asleep, great. Just start warming up half asleep, and then you'll get into it. But I promise you that if you put off a workout and you think you're gonna get it done at 5 p.m., then you are sorely mistaken.
That's
And
such a
so,
good nugget right there. You're promised 5 a.m., but you're not promised 5 p.m. And that makes so much sense. Like because there's always something that's going to come up later in
yeah,
the
I
day, or
mean,
you're going to make
it's
an
guaranteed.
excuse.
It's guaranteed to happen. And so,
Yeah.
so I love um the thought of people being asleep and I'm like back squatting or like deadlifting. I know
Yeah.
I like love it. And so, if you know me well, you know this about me. And so I call it my mental and physical insurance policy. Like I knock it out first thing in the morning, and then it's like you are untouchable. Like
Yeah.
you do this thing and you're set. And I, especially as a trainer, when my client comes in at 7, it's my responsibility to be the best version of myself. So if they come in and if I had just gotten there 2 minutes before them, I'm not in the right headspace. You know, I, maybe I'm tired or drowsy from just waking up. Like that's not the move. Uh, you know, 20 minutes prior to them showing up, I had just done a max set of deadlifts, and my brain is firing on all cylinders. I'm able to think like laser sharp, and I'm able to problem solve like every part of that training session for my client. Um, for me, it's just about, like I said, being the best version of myself to serve other people.
Hmm.
And if if I'm not like that, then what am I doing?
Yeah.
It's just there's no point. And so it took time. It took time for me to realize this, but uh, I think there were circumstances put in place that forced me to be like this because when I was coaching CrossFit in Ogden, the first class would be at 6 a.m. So guess what? You got to get up early and get to class and coach class. So that just forced me to get up early and get things going before class. And so, like I said, circumstances in life just forced me to be this way. And it used to be a lot more extreme. I would, you know, just do like a full crazy workout before, but now, uh, I'll just prioritize like three, four strength movements, super bang for your buck, efficient workout. Won't take me longer than an hour. And that also takes time. You have to find what works for your time slot, for your schedule. Like, maybe an AMRAP or an EMOM is more efficient for your time. But for me, I know Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm doing lower body strength, and that's going to be back squats, deadlifts, RDLs, some lunges or whatever, and that won't take me longer than an hour. And so going back to Monday, I'll train, and then I'll pop around, go to different clients. I have a ton of virtual clients, and so I'll post up at the studio or to Malibu Fitness and train virtual clients, in-person clients. Um, and since I knocked out my workout in the morning, I'll have time to carve out time for a training run. So I'm a big trail runner. Um, 95% of the running I'm doing is on trail. I do some road running for training, like some speed work and stuff, but my heart and my passion is for the mountains and on the trails. And where I live here in Malibu, the Santa Monica Mountains offers just a buffet of trails. It's absolutely amazing. Great vertical gain, great views, perfect trails, and so I'll carve out time like at least like 60 or 90 or a 2 hour run. Nothing longer than 2 hours, like in the middle of the day, and yeah, and then I'll continue to program workouts for other clients and kind of just enjoy the day. But I'm not doing anything past like 4 or 5 p.m. Like my work day basically ends around like 4 or 5, just training and programming and stuff. That's a Monday. Um, and then uh, yeah, you asked about nutrition, so
I was gonna ask because it's like these days are so active. Like, how are you eating? When do you eat? Yeah, I was curious.
I'll get it. I'll get
Yeah,
into
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
get into that. I'll get into
Sure,
that. So I just described the like activities worth,
sure.
and so I'll get into the fueling. So in the past, I've done a ton of experimenting with nutrition, leading up to this point. I'm 32 years old, and I have just run the gamut on nutrition. My body is like a science project at this point. But for me, it's really fun. For 7 years, I was strict vegan. I was hardcore, like plant-based vegan from like early college years up until I was, man, 20, like in 2000, when we first started connected, I was still vegan at the time. Like 2021 or 22, I was still vegan, and um, that's when I was in the thick of coaching CrossFit, and I'm looking at my CrossFit coaches, and they're just like huge traps or like huge quads, and I'm like, how do I look like you guys? And they're like, bro, you need to eat ground beef and chicken, and like, and like they're like, you just need to like eat a burger, eat a steak, dude. And I'm like, man, is that what I need to do? Like, I was like, I don't know, like what I'm doing is like working, I guess, but I don't know. And I formed this phobia around eating meat. It had been so long since I had eaten meat that I formed this phobia of I thought I was going to get really sick if I were to eat meat or eat animal products. So that was a huge concern for me. And I had a close friend who's a nutritionist, and I reached out to her, and I kind of explained my situation. I said, hey, like I'm having these cravings. I don't want to be vegan anymore. Like I want to like pull the ripcord. Like how do I do this? And she just said, listen, you have to listen to your cravings in your body. If you don't um, give your body what it needs, it'll tank your hormones. Like you have to, if you're craving, I just told her, I'm like, I'm craving grilled chicken. I don't know why, I'm just craving grilled chicken. And she's like, you need to eat grilled chicken. And so,
Oh my God, that's so
but
funny.
before I like went from vegan to just whole foods,
Yeah.
she prescribed me this supplement for my gut biome because I didn't have the amino acids that allowed me to break down animal proteins anymore. And so I had to take this supplement that basically built up these amino acids for to break down animal protein in my gut. And so I
Right.
took these supplements. I forget what they're called, but they're pretty common in like the transition from plant-based to whole food or animal-based. And so I took these supplements and just started like super lean, clean stuff like egg whites, turkey, a little bit of chicken. And then I laughed because I told you I'm a man of extremes. So it went from like one day it was like egg whites, and then I remember this so vividly. I walked into the grocery store and I just saw a rotisserie chicken. I just go, yeah, this is the day. And and
Oh, that's
I
funny.
remember I remember just picking up that rotisserie chicken and putting it on the counter, and I'm like, this is it. And I just go back. I go back to, it was like this ritualistic experience or something. I remember going back to my apartment and just like putting it on the counter, and I was like, all right, and I just
I'm
start
just
eating,
gonna go ham on this.
and then I black out, and the whole thing was gone, and I'm just like, all right. I was like, I guess we're back. I guess we're back. So,
Oh my God.
so from there, I started implementing like uh, some like ground beef and steak and stuff, and then I got uh, really hooked on like using food as a tool. So I started listening to I'm like a student of the game with whatever I do. So if I'm into running, I'm consumed by like running podcasts and books and shows and stuff like that. And so at the time when I started eating meat again, I started listening to uh, you know, old school like Paul Saladino and like
Yeah.
Robert Sykes and these guys that were like in the keto space because I thought, oh, like you don't have to eat carbs. I was like, what is this? Because I went from a very high carb, moderate protein, like zero fat to basically overnight super high fat, high protein, like zero carb, just to see what. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you something about that real quick because it seemed like to me, you said, you're a man of extremes. You went ham on the rotisserie chicken, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like you switched overnight, basically. Did you notice, maybe like talk about this real quick, like when you went from, the moderate protein, super high carb, low fat, all the way to a little bit more of like an animal-based diet, did you feel like it A, took your body some time to transition to that? And then B, once you did transition, did you notice any difference in performance, running, energy, all that type of stuff?
Yeah, it definitely I started to notice physical differences like almost immediately. The performance in the gym and running was kind of like it was kind of like an ebb and flow. Like I was just kind of trying to find like what works for me in the gym, but physically, um, I was like, oh, I just want to try cutting out carbs like all the way. And I was listening to a lot of keto podcasts at the time, just to know how to do it,
Yeah.
like how to really optimize like being in ketosis. And so they were saying that it was so crazy to me to hear someone say that my fat grams needed to be higher than my protein grams. And I was like, well, all right, like we'll see what happens. And so I didn't just do like chicken and avocado. I didn't go like protein like a little bit of fat. It was like 80-20 beef with like butter and like all this stuff. Like my fat grams were super high, my protein was like moderate and the
Hmm.
carbs were like zero. And it was crazy. I shed like a ton of it was like over a week. Every single vein was popping out of my body, like, and I lost a ton. I lost like 5 pounds of water weight,
Yeah.
and I was like a paper cut's worst nightmare, or like, you know what I mean, like, or whatever that phrase is, the bodybuilding phrase.
Yeah.
But that was crazy. But then I started to notice, um, like my lifts in the gym. I didn't feel like as like pumped or full when I was going for like a max or something. My endurance was fine because I was doing a ton of anaerobic CrossFit conditioning, and that all felt fine. I wasn't like really running when I was coaching CrossFit. I was doing like maybe 20, 30 miles a week. It was just
Mhm.
jogging, walking, but CrossFit and conditioning was like the main focus. And that's when I was allowed me to experiment with the diet and like doing going from like the assault bike to back squats, like these like big um contrasting movements, like was great conditioning. I didn't really notice a difference, but if it was like, okay, you got to max out on your deadlift or power clean or something, I just felt like kind of flat.
Sure.
And so um then I just started to implement carbs as like a tool. And that's kind of how I am today. So I'll just fast forward into today. So I use carbohydrates as a tool. So um, in the morning before, if I know like this morning is a perfect example. So I knew today was going to be heavy lower body, so heavy back squats, heavy deadlifts, some lunging, and I knew I was gonna have to, fuel my body properly, and I'm not afraid to do that. I'm not afraid to fuel my body properly, and I think that's something that men and women have trouble mentally with. They think like, oh, I don't want to like eat a bunch of food before my workout, they like I don't know what this is about people not wanting to eat before their workout, but you will feel better if you put fuel in your body to feel strong. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't really make sense to me, but this is just the way I am. And so, yeah, before a big heavy lifting day, I'll do fast digesting carbohydrates. I'll do sourdough toast with honey and peanut butter and sea salt.
And this
And
is in the morning, like during your
this,
morning routine before you go
this
in and
is,
lift.
yeah, this is before I head out to the studio. This is like literally 20 minutes before I get to the gym. I'll have, these big pieces of sourdough. So this pre-workout meal alone is probably like 600 calories. Little bit of fat from the peanut butter, but mainly carbohydrates. And with a little bit of that sea salt, man, like I feel full. I feel ready. I'm just drinking water with that as well, and that after a heavy strength session, that just burns. That is
Yeah.
pure fuel. And by the time you're done with an hour of intensity of targeted lifting, you feel like empty. Like you're like it's like you never ate that at all. And I think that's what I want people to realize, that your body becomes a furnace when you treat it like a train, like an engine, and you need to put coal into the fire. I love that visual of the Mickey Mouse cartoon when it
Sure.
was putting coal into the train, and I've always seen that visual in my head whenever I work out. Um, and yeah, so carbohydrates as a tool before a workout, and then post workout, I'll just prioritize protein. I'll do some eggs and keep the carbs like light throughout the day, because I just find that if I keep the carbs a little lower throughout the day, I'm able to just be a little mentally sharper, a little bit more laser focused. And then at night I'll do just like ground beef and white rice, and kind of just be able to relax and not have to worry about like going for a run or going for a workout. But when I'm running training, I do intra carbs
I was gonna ask
via
about this. Yeah.
yeah, I do intra carbs via performance nutrition. So it'll be a powder mix either from Tailwind or Scratch. Scratch Labs, or BPN, Bare Performance Nutrition.
Yeah.
They make a great powder. It's like if I'm running for um, let's say 2 hours, I'm trying to get in um, like close to 200 carbs in that time. So I'm like slamming a big drink mix, maybe a couple gels, but it's just yeah, I love to fuel the runs, and I love to train my gut as well because I run a lot of these races, and so you not only have to train your body and your cardio system, but you need to train your gut. So when you're running these long efforts, you don't want to just show up and be like, well, I guess I'm just going to eat 1,000 calories per hour and like see what happens, because that's
Yeah.
just a recipe for disaster. And so like I said, I love to treat my body as like a science project. So I train my gut, I train my legs, and it's all fun to me. Like we were talking, I was kind of saying this before we started recording. For me, none of this is like a task. That's the biggest thing I try to coach my clients and my the people at the ranch. I want to shift their mindset from doing all these things, working out, nutrition, sleep, recovery. I want to completely shift their mindset from task oriented to this is just a lifestyle.
Mm.
When you do these things, it will just inherently just fix just help you in life. You're gonna feel stronger. You're gonna fundamentally change. You're gonna notice when you're picking up that bag of dog food in the grocery store, you're able to, hinge at the hips properly and help hoist it over your shoulder. You're able to pick up your kid's bicycle when they're throwing a fit in the parking lot or whatever. It's like you just to be confident and to have strength and fitness and endurance as a lifestyle, and not look at it as, oh, like, oh, I have to work out or I have to go to the gym. Um, and I don't like using the word hate, but
Yeah.
I hate when people say I have to. When people say I have to go for a run or you have to go to the gym, it is the biggest like cringe for me, because I'm like, first of all, you get to do this, okay? Like you are an able-bodied human and you get to do these things. You are blessed with a mind and a body and a soul and a spirit and these things to, accomplish amazing feats. So, um, yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole just about the mental fitness, but
I think that's a really good way for people listening and even myself, because sometimes, like, if like I'm training, let's say when I was training for a lot of like the half marathons I was running over the last like handful of years, like, I fall into like, well, and this kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier, you're promised 5 a.m., but you're not promised 5 p.m. And that makes a lot of sense. And that connected with me a lot because, I've got two kids. And if I don't get certain things done at certain times, for a fact it's not happening at the end of the day.
right.
But a
Yeah.
lot of the times I'll run into a situation where it's like, I have to run. Like, I have to get this run in. But I think if you switch that mindset, it kind of changes your perspective a little bit. If you say like I get to, it kind of changes the way in which you're looking at the workout, how you approach the workout, probably some of the benefits that you get from the workout, your mindset going into it. It's almost like shifting towards a little bit more gratitude in a way. You know what I mean? So it's like, even if you got to get the run in, you're ultimately shifting your perspective on it, and it's probably going to be a lot more beneficial of a running experience overall. Like, that's how I take that in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, every day just leading with gratitude is really important to me. I mean, I use the term mental fitness because it is exactly what it sounds like. It's just like building these reps in your mind, just like over time, just reps, building brick by brick. Yeah, I mean, I use a lot of mental fitness, especially when I'm running these races, when I'm deep in the trenches, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 miles into something. And I use those experiences to, go into my daily life, and to the days I don't want to wake up, I draw from past experiences that, getting up out of bed because you're sore and tired is nothing compared to something else that you've lived through in your life. And um, just to be grateful for, even like you said, just being able to do these things, and uh, waking up with a job, being able to put food on the plate, and just like I love I've been following Eric Hinman for a while. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's like an OG in the fitness space, and he always used to say, he still probably says it, just to create tiny wins throughout the day. And I just love that, like stacking tiny wins every single day. It's like, making that pre-workout snack and eating it in the morning and getting to the gym. Just the fact that you're like getting there is a win.
Yeah.
And then thinking of like your wife and your kids, and yeah, just leading with gratitude and stacking wins. Um, but yeah, man.
No, that's honestly a really cool way to look at things. I feel like life is almost a little bit more uh, simpler and pleasurable when you go into it on a daily basis with a perspective like that. I kind of wanted to go back real quick to
hmm
the ranch,
hmm
because this seems like, I know you were chatting about this a little bit earlier, and it just seems like a really cool place, and people might go there for a bunch of different reasons, whether it's celebrities or CEOs or whatever the case. But because it's got like, it sounds like to me people go there for like 7 to 9 days, maybe 2 weeks, like you're kind of rotating through guests.
Mm,
How, in like your job there, do you approach like training guests? Because like it's not like a client that's meeting with you on a regular basis
mm,
for days and then weeks and months on end. It's like these guests are kind of rotating. So when you're coming in and you're running, like whether it's like a group workout class or whatever the case is, like how are you approaching like meeting these different peoples at different stages of their
mhm.
lives, and you're kind of guiding them through like your process or what you're having them do that day? Like how do you approach that? I was just curious.
Yeah, um, I coach the group fitness as well. We have another head trainer, but I'll do some of the group fitness, as well as we have a ranch private program, which is um, people who come and they want their own hiking guide and their own personal trainer. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of the ranch privates, and I love that. With group fitness, is pretty easy to host a class with just basic movements. We do, dumbbell bench press and single arm rows, and it's like more of a circuit style class where it's really approachable for people even who have never lifted a weight in their life. Uh, there's tons of substitutions for e- like, let's say someone's never touched a weight in their life, and the first movement is a dumbbell bench press. We'll just have them press off the wall, like just something
Mm,
that's lit so stripped down. And um, it's just thinking about, like, don't worry about the people around you or next to you. Just really try to make it as comfortable as possible, with people there. And like I keep going back to meeting people where they're at. Um, some of these guests come and they are avid weightlifters, and like I said, some of them have never touched a weight in their life. And so the group fitness class is a lot of it's super basic stuff, just like timed sets, like, oh, we're going to work for 1 minute on this movement, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to work for another full minute on another movement. So like really stripped down, and just really digestible for someone who has either in it or very detached from that. And so you can kind of coordinate the group fitness like pretty easily. I've been doing that for a long time, but the private fitness I really love, because typically I'll be with a guest for like 5 days in a row, and I get to really talk to them about, like, hey, like, what are your goals? What are your strength goals? Your aesthetic goals? Your in general your health and fitness goals, and so uh, when I'm only with someone for 5 days, for me, it's about just uh, giving them like the tools and the confidence to bring outside of their ranch experience. So let's say they really want to get into backpacking, and they want to hike the the PCT or the Appalachian Trail, and so they really want to build their glutes or something, or their core, and so that whole week We're going to be targeting a lot of single leg movements and core strength and glute work and like just stuff that is very goal oriented for them.
Sure.
And I've received a ton of virtual training clients from the ranch. I'll have someone for a week long, and they go, "Oh my gosh, like I love you as a trainer or this experience." And so a lot of these people are super busy. They're traveling all the time, all around the world and the country. And so I do a ton of FaceTiming with people, consistently. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I've got someone in New York and or whatever or Miami, and so it's like we set a time and they're in like their hotel gym or their home gym or something, and um, it's hard to implement like true progressive overload with them. I'm not there to spot them on a barbell,
Sure.
but for a lot of these guests, it's more the accountability. For them to pop up a FaceTime and just see me and just I'm going through the movements with them. It's more just a guided like confident thing where they feel comfortable and they feel like they're being kept accountable for me. I'll text them personally, like you better stay on your stuff and don't fall off the wagon this weekend and not too many drinks at the company dinner. So I love kind of like being like the drill sergeant in their life. I love it. So it's really fun for me. Um, and so yeah, I hope that kind of answers your question.
Totally.
The training isn't super complicated there. We try to focus on just a lot of fundamental movements and just basic stuff. A lot of just introductory kind of stuff.
No, that makes tons of sense. Um, I know we're coming up here on time a little bit. I want to kind of get into like what's on the horizon for you, man. Like what are you currently working on now? What are you currently training for in terms of like races or anything else?
Yeah, so I've kind of got some exciting news about the ranch. So the past 2 years, I've been working there on call, just kind of like part time. Like I said, I could kind of work there like 2 days a week, 7 days a week, 5 days a week. But up until recently, I'm entering a senior leadership role, which will allow me to work there full time. So I'm gonna actually go like all in on the ranch as a senior program guide,
Oh,
which
that's
I'll be
awesome,
there.
man.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll be there all day, hiking, training people in the gym, and then also in the afternoons. What makes it full time is it's more like in the hospitality role, you are working with guest relations and admin and really being with the guests and helping them like on the property and doing fitness consultations and just like really being a part of more a part of the guest experience. And so really happy to dive into that role. That'll be like starting kind of this summer. And my next race is in 3 weeks. And right now, it's looking like it'll be the Sedona 125, which
Oh,
is
dang.
125 miles. And it's actually a part of this week-long race, which is my dream race called the Cocodona 250. So this is a point-to-point 250-mile race in Prescott, Arizona, and you run to Flagstaff, Arizona.
Oh, man.
And so they have a half distance for the wimps like me who, no, I'm just kidding. They have a half distance for the softies, called the Sedona 125, and so yeah, I was fortunate enough to receive an invitation for the 125, and so I'm kind of figuring out some logistics on crew and some pacers, but that's looking like it'll most likely happen here on May 7th, 2025.
Okay, so it won't be
And
incredibly hot quite yet.
I'm hoping it won't be boiling, but there's no bad weather, there's only bad gear, so
Ah,
it is what it is.
that's the way to look at it,
Um,
man. How
I
are you
should,
training for that? Like how like what's going
I'm
like what is the, like the mileage and the distances and the daily to weekly training for something like that?
so the past like 5 weeks, I've been running 120 miles a week, and which sounds like a lot because it is. And everything currently hurts. Thank God I'm in a chair right now because I can barely stand. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, just a ton of volume, and I think the one I'm definitely fit for it. I I run a ton of races, and I kind of like milk my fitness from like one race to the next. But I'm feeling pretty fit right now. I think the one thing that will be not an issue, but um, is a little daunting will be at the altitude. I think it ranges from like 8 to 10 on this, 8 to 10,000 on this race. Just 8 to 10,000 feet of elevation. I live at sea level, and
Yeah.
so if there's anything that's going to take me out, it's going to be like altitude sickness. But I don't know. I'm like, I'll figure it out. Not a big deal. But and then the heart of the summer, I'm just going to be working at the ranch and kind of like I said, diving into this full time position. Um, and in the fall, um, another 100 miler. And but yeah, me and my girlfriend, we run these races as well. So she's got a big 100 miler in August that she'll be training for, and then we're just like we like swap like crewing each other for these races. And so just yeah, the future is just like running and training and hanging out with my girlfriend. And yeah, man.
Very cool. I wanted to kind of wrap up with this because I think I caught this saying, and you've had like a lot of good nuggets, a lot of good sayings and visuals like over the course of this chat, that I think help to paint just really good pictures around how you see things, like your perspective around how you live your life, how you go about your day to day. And I really liked one thing, and that you had mentioned a little bit earlier, and I just wanted to kind of see what it ultimately means to you. But you said make easy things hard to eventually make hard things easy. And the way I translate it is now getting to know you a little bit, like that basically encapsulates in my mind, that's like the perfect phrase for you and how you live. But I'm curious to see like what that ultimately means to you, man, because that's a great saying.
Yeah, I think it formed from another great saying, which is discipline equals freedom, which
Hmm.
is from the late great Jocko Willink. When I heard that, I absolutely fell in love with it because it just made so much sense. When you do hard things, it just gives you the freedom of like when you do hard things in the present, your future self will just be so thankful for what your past self did. And so when I say do or make easy things hard, it's like waking up at 8 a.m. is easy. But you know a way to make that hard is if you get up at 4 and like
Hmm.
get your workout in. So it's just like those things of making kind of easy things just more hard for you. So then down the road, you will enjoy that 8 a.m. like sleep in. You won't take that for granted. Like these little moments where are super easy, just to make them a little bit more difficult and to make that consistent. And then like the leisurely walk in the park will be nice because you did a 12-mile run in that same park at one point. It's like your perspective just changes when you have done like put yourself in like a hard situation. You're able to for me, I'm able to enjoy like the finer things in life in another perspective, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And I think you can, the way I look at it is you can take it a little bit like a step further just in terms of like training or what you're ultimately training for, right? Because a lot of people think like, of course, like half marathons for anyone dependent on what type of shape they're in. Like all these races are hard for people. Like, you're about to run 125 miles. But if you make the easy things hard, right, which is typically like your day to day, getting up early, getting the
Mm,
workout in, getting the long training runs in, which are typically hard and grueling, but you do them
uh-huh.
consistently, you make them hard.
Mm,
A lot of the times, like when you get to race day, the race day is like where
easy.
not necessarily easy, but it's easier because you've built up you've made all those easy things and all those training runs
Mm,
harder to when
mm.
you get to the day of the race, it's not you're prepared,
Yeah,
basically, like you're
yeah.
ready to go, you
Well,
know?
it's a cel. I say race day is a celebration of all the
Yes,
training you've done.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man. Dude, I gotta have you back on because I think you have such an interesting perspective of way and way you look at like life and training, and it is honestly, man, like a pleasure to get to know you here a little bit. Before we wrap up, and obviously I want to be like respectful of your time, and you know, what time is it? It's what, 4 o'clock there? You might be going to bed here in a little
Well,
bit.
we'll have the post 125 debrief.
Oh, that would be great. 100%. I would love to. I'd love to dive into that. Um, where can people find you online? How can people like work with you if they want to work with you, consult with you, whether it's train with you virtually, whatever the case is? How can people get in touch with you, man?
Yeah, I'm most active on Instagram. It's at coach underscore HAYB. So it's just my name is Hayden, last name Burdge. It's just Hayby, Coach Hayby. And so yeah, I'm most active on Instagram, and people will direct message me and just ask for my email, and then we'll all start training. And but yeah, I'm on Instagram all day, and that's the easiest way to interact with me and find me.
Awesome, dude. Well, like I said, this was fantastic. Um, Thanks, guys, for listening to the Low Carb Consultant Podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks, Max.